Next on NFL Primetime, would Mike Ditka's Bears lose their fourth straight? Or would it be the Rams and Jim Everett losing their third in a row? The Oilers and Warren Moon had been on a roll, but today they saw Webster Slaughter and the Cleveland Browns coming right at them. In Denver, it's Randall against John Elway. At the Meadowlands, could Steve Young crank it up in place of Joe Montana? Rodney and Willie Pete, father and son, do battle in Milwaukee. Let's celebrate NFL Primetime next. Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman. Week 8. We are at the halfway mark. And to help us explain how we got that far, I call in the three Musketeers. Tom Jackson, Pete Axthelm, and John Saunders. Let's get you updated, though, first on the late games. Aren't many of them around the NFL. With 2 minutes to go now at Mile High Stadium, very intriguing game between the Eagles and Broncos, and the Eagles lead that 28-24, a couple of touchdowns for Keith Byers in that contest. Surprise at the LA Coliseum, it's the Raiders all over the Redskins, 37-17. Steve Berline has started and looked very good. Bo Jackson has looked strong, and the Redskins are turning the ball over with great rapidity. No-dos on sale at the Kingdome as the Seahawks lead the Chargers 10-7 in the fourth quarter. Game has been a snoozer, and a final at the Meadowlands. The 49ers beat the Jets 23-10. Big game between a couple of teams who began the first 4 weeks of the season undefeated. The Rams and Bears once each were 4-0, but the Rams came into Soldier Field today, losers of their last two, and the Bears had lost the unthinkable 3 in a row, the only time it's ever happened under Mike Ditka. So the Bears trying to regroup. How do they get off the schneid? The Rams had their sights set on breaking their losing streak too, and they had their sights set on Mike Tomczak, leveled by Mike Wilcher. Then Kevin Green and Wilcher nailed Tomczak. Ditka not happy with his offensive line or Kozlowski's play, but Jim Everett also looked like a tentative quarterback today. Everett looks for Henry Ellard, Dewerson deflects, Marcus Paul with the INT. No one's touched him, he gets up, and will go 20 yards. First half, all defense, tentative offense. Mike Tomczak had big-time problems. He and his receivers out of sync. Scoreless first quarter. Then, late in the first half, after Tomczak at one point had thrown 10 straight incompletions, they make the move to Jim Harbaugh. And Harbaugh leveled by Alvin Wright. Kevin Green picks it up, and Green rumbles, stumbles, 47 yards. The Rams thought they had a touchdown, but offsides. Defense. John Robinson making the same offside call. 3-3 at the half. Harbaugh gave Ditka a different choice, though, Tommy, today.
Well, he adds a dimension with his running ability, a little bit better than Tomczak. Here he comes out of the pocket early in the game, both running and passing, kept the Rams off balance a little bit. The other thing is he's willing to stand in and take a lick. Here he throws a perfect spiral over to Neil Anderson for a 14-yard gain.
The Joe Cap volley floater. Bear defense, though, still started to dig in. Look at Richard Dent flying over the blocker, nailing Greg Bell, who again could not move the ball on the ground. Steve McMichael sacks Everett. Turnover time. Bell on the rush. The fridge is beaten, but reaches out with a paw, slaps the ball loose. Fumble! Richard Dent, 95, playing an inspired game. Fell off the ball. Still in the third quarter. Harbaugh for Cap Bosa. Picks up, well, what is this flag? At half-mast? It eventually came on Anthony Newman. Robinson can't believe it, but the flag helped set up Brad Muster. Tough 1-yard burst, fought off 3 tackles. The Bears finally in the end zone. It's 10-3 Chicago. Harbaugh to Muster, playing perhaps his most important game as a Bear. Later on the drive, Harbaugh to Wendell Davis, one of the guys they got as draft picks as a result of the Wilbur Marshall giveaway, if you will, to Washington. Harbaugh, 1-yard sneak in the fourth quarter at 17-3 Chicago. Everett trying to bring the Rams back. But how tough was it for the Rams to get in the end zone? Pete Holohan can't overrun Dave Dewerson. Eventually, they do get a score from Greg Bell to make it 17-10. But Jim Everett looked tentative all day, and he struggled. The day began, at least, to Jim Harbaugh. He wasn't tremendous, but he hit some long gainers like this one to Dennis McKinnon of 41 yards. Helped set up a field goal by Kevin Butler. There, Harbaugh's number. Certainly didn't lose the game. How happy was Mike Ditka afterwards to break the losing streak? I guess so. 3-game losing streak by the boys. Bears over the Rams at Soldier Field, 20-10. And afterwards, Mike Singletary said, it may not give us a sign for what's exactly going to happen the rest of the year, but it gives us an alternative.
You gotta make up your mind about something. And for us, it's just at that point where, fellas, what are we going to do? I mean, we're going to make up our mind. We're going to go out there and do the things that we have to do, or we're just going to try and just let people tell us how good we are or how bad we are. What are we going to do?
It's hard to imagine the Chicago Bears falling to 4-4, but then again, the Los Angeles Rams have to imagine that they now have lost 3 in a row. An impressive job by the Bears in the trenches, Axe.
Yes, I think there was so much smoke raised about the quarterback and who was going to
down. With 1:27 to go, the pass intended for Vance Johnson just behind him.
The heart of the Bears is that Bear spirit still lives, and that's what showed today. I know one person who probably doesn't want to have dinner tonight with Mike Singletary is Greg Bell. He punished him pretty good.
Oh, Pete, the other thing, when you mention offensive line, defensive line, the last few weeks, Mike Ditka has talked a lot about getting leadership from guys that he should be getting it from. Today, real burst in the form of Richard Dent, who disrupted everything, both run and pass.
And I think today, although Neil Anderson raced for about 80 yards, it was the running of Muster, who was 30-plus yards, really his most important role today as a Chicago Bear. It was he that got the tough yards to help them get into the end zone, and so the Bears now getting some contributions from some of the younger players. The Rams are not getting much contribution on offense. Greg Bell at only 32 yards. You compare the Rams in the first 5 weeks when they didn't lose, and the last 3 weeks on offense when all they've done is lose, you can see a big reason why. We'll be back.
NFL Primetime is...
The coordinator stands in front of Buddy Ryan.
By the U.S. Navy. You are tomorrow. You are the Navy.
Once again, the area that you attack.
And by the Hartford, the insurance people of ITT. When you need us most, we're at our best.
It's a drawback possible.
Welcome back to Primetime. Pretty hot game in pretty chilly Denver this afternoon. The Broncos have gotten into Eagles territory. Under a minute.
In the end zone, Sewell. Incomplete.
46 yards called back, but the Raiders still handily in front of the Redskins 37-17 in the fourth. And a final now from the Kingdom. The Seahawks win for the first time in 4 tries at home. They beat San Diego 10-7, 10th out of the last 11 games. They've beaten the San Diego Chargers. Falcons and Saints. Atlanta, it seems every week they're on the road. This is their 5th road game of the year, and going into this ball game, they had yet to win.
There's the effort by the safety. I can't see the number there, Vern. That's Waters, 20. Andre Waters. Heck of a play
In the hunt. Dalton Hilliard, the story in the first quarter. Hebert to Dalton Hilliard. Hilliard would run for 17 yards. On the next play, Hebert said, you know, I like this guy, number 21. He throws to Hilliard for 9 yards. 2 plays later, they give us to Hilliard. Ironhead with a block of sorts, 15-yard run for Hilliard. Then, we try Dalton to the right side. He busts off for 7 yards. Then, Hebert scrambles. Guess who he's going to look for? Hilliard. Yeah, good idea, Tom. Hilliard, untouched, into the end zone, 21 yards, accounted for all 69 yards of the Saints' opening drive. They lead it 7-0. Falcons offense, non-existent. Pat Swilling had 3 sacks of Chris Miller in the first half. This time the fumble recovered from Frank Warren. Have we seen this before? This is later in the first half.
It's very much like an instant replay here. Swilling back to throw, Miller back to throw. Swilling makes the hit, and Warren gets the recovery.
The Saints lead it 10-0 at halftime. Jim Fink on the sidelines looking on. Second half, though, Chris Miller hung in there and started to turn things around. It's a dart to John Settle for 10. Dan looks for his rookie receiver from Northern Arizona, Sean Collins. 18-yard touchdown. The Saints, who held Atlanta to 4 yards total offense in the first half, now only led it 13-7. And then prime time. Deion Sanders on the kickoff return. Look at it go. Finally goes out of bounds. But trailing by only 6, 13-7. It got Atlanta into range. And while Atlanta was in range, the Saints offense starting to sputter. Hebert loses the football. Atlanta has 1, 2, 3, 4. Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. They had 5 shots to pick up the football, but they couldn't do it. Stan Brock saves the day. But Atlanta does tie it at 13 all. And then Hebert says, my goodness, we've outplayed Atlanta, but we might lose the game. He hits Eric Martin after Charles Dimry gambles. Martin picks up 50 yards. And guess who's the hero of the day? Sure, number 21, Dalton Hilliard, with a late touchdown. 93 yards rushing, 97 yards receiving. He had a marvelous day. A pair of touchdowns. Marion Campbell says, you know, we played the Saints tough, but we can't beat them because New Orleans beats Atlanta by the count of 20-13, and home never looks so good for Atlanta next week. Phoenix at Dallas, and the Cardinals get Freddie Joe Nunn back after being suspended for substance abuse for 30 days. He was abusing Paul Palmer. Here he gets him once, and watch him beat Nate Newton.
Freddie Joe Nunn amazingly quick off the ball, blows by Newton before he even sees him to drop Paul Palmer.
And then Nunn into the backfield, nailing Palmer. Palmer says, boy, I thought I was happy to get a new start at Dallas, but at least not on this day, because Palmer tries to avoid Nunn, and Michael Zorgich runs him out of bounds. The woes continue. Steve Walsh, the perfect bullet to Palmer, no. Dallas tries it again, but guess who's there? Michael Zorgich right there. Palmer picked up 33 yards rushing on the day and an Excedrin headache, number 42. But it wasn't only Palmer that Walsh was having trouble hooking up with. Here's Kelvin Martin. No, can't hold on. Now with Phoenix leading at 6-3 in the third quarter, Walsh is dropping back. Cedric Mack tips it, and Michael Zorgich picks it up. Just Saturday night, he and his wife, baby boy, Mike Zorgich Jr. On Sunday, he returns an interception for a touchdown. Congratulations, it's 13-3 Cards. Walsh to Derek Shepard draws Dallas within 16-10. Steve Walsh throwing for 264 yards on the day, and Jerry Jones, as he's done all year, on the sidelines inspiring the squad. Late in the game, Phoenix punting. Derek Shepard was cut from New Orleans early this year because of a case of the dropsies. No, not again. Yes, it is. Phoenix recovers the fumble. Jimmy Johnson and Shepard see a game slip away as the Cards win it by a count of 19-10. In 5 years as coach of Miami of Florida, Jimmy Johnson 52 up, 9 down. 8 games as coach of the Dallas Cowboys, none up, 8 down. What a change it has been. We've got more highlights from Week 8 coming up here on Primetime. But first, we told you the Saints are back at 500, and their defense has led the way. Their 3-game winning streak, you see in the total on the right, has been keyed by the D. Stay with us. Holy defense back here. And welcome back to NFL Primetime. John Saunders joins us now. And John, week 1 of the season, Miami almost upset the Bills. Kelly running in on the very last play of the game. This time Buffalo had them in their place, and their defense was zeroing in on Marino, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, and a long time before any defense had done that. But think about it. Had the Buffalo Bills lost that first game of the season to Miami, the Dolphins would be tied for first place. The Bills today were looking for the series sweep for the 3rd straight year and their 5th straight win. Jim Kelly still not strong enough to play, but Bruce Smith and the Buffalo defense was ready. Smith just waits for Sammy Smith and drills him to the turf. Smith, a dominant force as usual. The Bills pressured Dan Marino constantly, and Marino isn't used to that. Under the heat, he fires. It's picked off by Cornelius Bennett. The Bills in business with good field position. And Thurman Thomas out of Oklahoma State, the right side, takes it to the sideline. And then watch the cutback, goes 30 yards, takes it in for the touchdown. And not too many people do it better than that, Tom.
Thurman Thomas is probably as good a back as you'll see in this league. He has excellent moves, a burst that gets him through the line of scrimmage, and once he gets to the sideline, what you like as a coach is cut back and really turn it on right there, shifts it in the 4th gear.
Yeah, that's picking up speed in a hurry. The Bills are really hungry for the sack of Marino. 19 games since he's been sacked, but Jeff Wright gets in there, gets him at the 1. First time in 759 passing attempts that Dan Marino was beat, and he was beaten badly on this one.
Well, Jeff Ulenek gets the center, turn, gets his shoulders by. Marino just can't avoid him.
Marino goes down twice in the game, but Frank Wright didn't throw the ball too often. But when Reich did throw the ball, he made it count. Finds Don Beebe, 63 yards for the touchdown. Only 9 tosses on the day for Reich, but he had Buffalo on top 21-3 as he hit 6 of them. Marino gets Miami going in the third quarter. Mark Clayton, who makes nice moves there between 2 defenders, takes off with everyone chasing him, picks up a block into the end zone for the touchdown. It's now a 21-10 game. But that man, Thurman Thomas, was at it again.
You can't say too much about Thurman. Once he catches the story, always got the great vision, makes a nice little hurdle there, always refusing to run out of bounds, gets every yard that he can get.
Career high 148 yards, and Don Shula would have a big decision. 4th and inches at the Bills' 47. Give it to Sammy Smith. Smith is just stopped cold by Bruce Smith, and the Bills were fired up.
This is one of my favorite linebackers in the league. This is Cornelius. Started outside, came inside, and there he is getting another piece of Marino. And there's Bruce Smith getting a piece of Marino.
Dan Marino not used to that, and when you're pressured, this will happen. The pass is tipped. It's picked off by Kirby Jackson, his 2nd of the game. Some shifty moves. He goes 40 yards and takes it down the sidelines into the end zone for the touchdown. 31-10, the Bills on top. Dan Marino, if you read lips, you know Dan Marino's not a happy guy as the Bills win it. Dan Marino's 19 straight without being sacked. That was an NFL record. The Bills are now 6-2. They had 280 yards rushing. In Indianapolis, that's Tony Eason of the Patriots not playing, but on the other side of the field, Tom Ramsey used to play for them. He set up the signals, so Eason had to hide behind the coaches. Meanwhile, Jack Trudeau to Bill Brooks. And then he's almost out of bounds, laterals it to Andre Rison. 71 yards when it was all said and done, but Trudeau would fumble a couple of plays later, and they would not come away with a touchdown. New England is up 3-0. Trudeau goes to Rison again. 22 yards. His first touchdown in the National Football League. Now, give the guy credit. You got to celebrate something like this.
Unsportsmanlike conduct demonstration number 85 and 80 will penalize on the kickoff.
Come on, the guy's first NFL touchdown. Give him a break. Rison pays for it. Johnny Rembert says, you're going to hot dog a little bit? I'm going to knock you to the turf, and the ball goes flying. Tony Eason sending in some more plays behind his coaches. They don't want the Colts to pick this up, and Steve Grogan, he catches the play. First he hits Sammy Martin, puts him over 25,000 career passing yards. Then Cedric Jones hauls it in to tie the game at 10. Eric Dickerson says, call the doctor. I got to get out of the game. The hamstring is still hurt, and the Colts are down 13-10. And Ivy Joe Hunter takes control.
And Ivy Joe Hunter obviously taking some lessons from ED because he's learned how to make that nice slice through the line of scrimmage. Does it a couple of times right there.
3 consecutive carries, picks up 20 yards. Steve Grogan with 3 minutes left to Hartley Dykes for 8 yards. Then Cedric Jones, 13 more yards into Indianapolis territory. Then Eric Sievers, who had 5 receptions for 91 yards. And Mosi Tutupu down to the 3-yard line. And then John Stevens on the handoff. Bowls it in, and the Patriots take a 20-17 lead. Indy ties it on a field goal, but into overtime. Eason still sending in the signals. Looks over at Tom Ramsey. Did you get that? Well, if he did, he didn't tell his teammates because Grogan connects 27 yards to Sammy Martin, who stays in bounds, which gives Greg Davis on his 24th birthday a chance to win it. He had missed a 46-yarder in regulation. This is from 51 yards, and happy birthday to Greg Davis because he knocks it through, and the Patriots win. 28 completions in the 46 attempts. Those are career highs for Steve Grogan. 355 yards as well. Ray Berry's 9th win against just 2 losses against the team that he starved for in Baltimore, and the Patriots come away with a big win on the road.
Yeah, it saves their season, and what the Colts loss and the Bills win mean combined is that Buffalo owns a 2-game lead now in the AFC East. Bills doing it on offense. Now, last year, everybody got on them for the conservative play calling. They were a little more conservative today with Frank Reich at quarterback. But if you compare their offense last year to their offense this year, yards and points. No wonder they're 6-2 and rolling. We'll be back. You knew going into the season the AFC Central was the conference's best division, but neither the Bengals, the Browns, or the Oilers. I know who's in the Central. I just got confused. None of those teams had really asserted themselves this year. Last year, remember those back-to-back games between the Oilers and Browns at Cleveland, Week 16 in the wild card game? Both teams look good then. Which team would assert themselves today? The 3 teams going into the day at 4-3. And yeah, everybody was in the dog pound today. First quarter, 3rd and 13. Warren Moon, not flustered, hits Haywood Jeffries for a touchdown. It's a 7-0 Oiler lead, and Jeffries working against the main dog.
Working against one of the best corners in this league, Hanford Dixon, and this is planned. They work on it all the time, throwing behind the receiver. Defender doesn't have a chance to focus in. Touchdown.
Houston looking controlled on the road, but again, they won that playoff game in here. Deep from his own end zone, Warren Moon to Drew Hill. Also beats Hanford Dixon. It's a 50-yard play, and the Oilers in the first half look to have things going their way. Offensively, Cleveland had a rough start. Bernie looked good on Monday night, but looking for Ozzie Newsome, the only pass he threw towards Ozzie all day, Bubba McDowell picks it off. There's a flag on the return. Oilers get the INT, but not the touchdown. They'd settle for a field goal. It loomed big later. On 1st and 10, Kosar looking for Foghorn Langhorn. Picked off by Steve Brown. And at this point, offensive coordinator Mark Trestman and Bernie Kosar are in trouble. 57 total yards offense, 2 INTs in the first half, 10-0 Houston. But in the third quarter, Bud Carson obviously gave a great speech. Kosar takes matters into his own hands. Bernie, how often have you seen it? Answer, not many times. He runs into the end zone. Touchdown, 10-7. Houston lead cut to 3. And then the veteran defenders, Tom.
Carl Harrison, Bubba Baker, Clay Matthews, all over 30 years of age, getting great penetration today. Then on 2nd and 13, Baker again into the backfield, knocks this pass down, almost intercepted.
Then, after the old defenders come through, watch the play. The flea flicker, Metcalf back to Bernie. To Webster, Slaughter, look at him go, he's wide open, 80 yards. The Browns, turning new pages in their playbook, lead at 14-10. On the next series, though, the Oilers have the answer. Warren Moon going to Curtis Duncan. Beats Felix the Cat Wright and Frank Minifield. Down to the 1. Rozier later scores 17-14 Houston. What a game this looked like it would be. Next series, Slaughter against Patrick Allen.
And Patrick Allen makes a fatal mistake, cuts across the field trying to intercept the ball instead of going downfield with the receiver. Webster Slaughter off to the races.
77 yards this time. On 2 plays, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then Metcalf, Langhorn, Kosar. Metcalf sneaks out of the backfield, makes the leaping catch on the razzle-dazzle for 25 yards. And then, have we used all the plays that we have yet? No, I think there's one more. Bernie tells the ref, didn't tell the Oilers. Kosar pitches to Metcalf like his father did. He throws it. Touchdown to Langhorn, 32 yards. Cleveland leads at 28-17. And with the lead, the Browns were teeing off on defense. Warren Moon, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Thane Gash nails him. As Glanville looked on, this, though, was a guy looking on with some melancholy thoughts. No catches for Ozzie Newsome, the second longest streak in pro football history, 150 games straight with a catch. Goes by the board, but Cleveland wins at 28-17. Meanwhile, the Bengals had lost 2 in a row in the jungle. Into town came Tampa Bay. Things went in 2s, 2 straight losses. Lars Tate with a big run for Tampa Bay of 46 yards, setting up a TD in a 7-0 lead. Bengals, though, come back with a big run of their own. James Brooks. And look at him make the move right there. 42-yard run of his own, which helped set up a 4th and goal, which Eric Ball shakes off a Mark Robinson hit and goes into the end zone since he leads at 14-7.
Eric Ball hasn't quite gotten that Ickey Woods cutback down, but I think he's got that power move running over guys and getting into the end zone down.
He's got the high step, too. On 4th and 1, the Bucs can't convert. Reggie Williams with the big hit on Lars Tate. But the Bucs find another way to score because on their next possession, Boomer can't handle the snap. The safety makes it 14-9. Vinny to Mark Carrier for a reception, and we told you things happen in 2. Vinny to Carrier again. 17 yards, beats Eric Thomas. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. They lead at 16-14.
Great job not only of catching the ball, but right here at the end, you see him glance down and make sure I've got the feet in bounds.
Eddie Brown wants to be part of the 2's formula. Boomer's pass. Oh, Eddie. Could have been a touchdown. But he comes back. Catches the 9-yard zip for a TD. 21-16 Cincinnati at the half. Jasner was the 1-2 formula on plays. It was the same way later on. The Bucs Fumble, Tim Crumrye picks it up. And on the Bengals' ensuing possession, James Brooks. 4-yard touchdown. Look at the move. Don't even hit in the end zone. Don't even think about it. 28-16 Bengals. Third quarter. Brooks with 131 yards, first back in 21 games to get 100 yards against the Buccaneers. Reverse. Brooks hands it to Tim McGee. And watch Boomer. I really don't want to block anybody, but I'm out there anyway. And a big pickup for McGee. And a few plays later, Boomer to McGee, 14 yards, touchdown, 35-16 Cincinnati. Boomer less than 200 yards, but his 5 touchdown passes ties his own team record. And then another lefty, Eric Vilhelm, steps in to hit Tim McGee for 46 yards. The Bengals scoring touchdowns on 7 straight possessions, rolling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 56-23. And this is a Bengal team that hadn't reached the end zone for 7 quarters. They score on 7 straight possessions. And Axe, I know you were very intrigued by the way the Bengals were punching it across.
Well, I was particularly intrigued with the fact they were still throwing touchdown passes ahead 49-16. I think there's 3 possible reasons. One is because the points might be involved in a tiebreaker. Another is because they certainly want to get work for that crucial man on their roster, Eric Wilhelm. And the third is they were simply running it up. Well, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. I won't go for the tiebreaker part. Looking at the list of tiebreaker things, points in non-conference games are only slightly more important as hours of dignified community service.
Well, one service that the Bengals did do was the 3rd highest score in the 80s. The Bengals' 56 points today puts them on a pretty good list in the 80s. Community service, I don't know the way they think about it in Tampa Bay, but this is the way it stacks up. We'll be back with the late highlights. Stay with us.
The preparation is complete. Now it's time for Game Day. College Game Day previews all the gridiron excitement Saturday morning on ESPN.
Welcome back to Primetime. 2 teams with very good records. The Philadelphia Eagles and Denver Broncos hooked up for a very good football game at Mile High Stadium this afternoon. They thought it might snow. It did not do that. But, you know, you think you have things figured out, and everything you figured through the first 7 weeks goes by the boards. What are we talking about? Well, you know, Denver has a very good rushing defense, the best in football, and you know the Philly can't run the football. So Randall Cunningham runs it for 24 yards on the first drive of the game. And you figure that's an aberration, but when Randall handed the ball off on regular plays, like this one to Anthony Toney, he finds a big hole in the left side. It's first down at Denver's 21. Eagles on this drive would not throw the ball. They go 96 yards. It will be 96 tears for the Broncos. Fires a 16-yard run, 7-0 Philly. Broncos couldn't get started early. Elway picked off by Izell Jenkins. He will get up and lumber it into Bronco territory. Eagles in business again. Philly says, my goodness, we can move the ball on the ground? Well, let's keep it there. And the Eagles run the draw play to Heath Sherman. Down to the Denver 10. And the running sets up the pass from Cunningham to Chris Carter. Touchdown, 14-0 Philadelphia early. Boom, in Mile High. After Ken Bell muffed the punt for Denver, Cunningham tries to capitalize. Stopped shy of the end zone. Philly is called for holding. Randall is also hurt. So, they bring in Matt Cavanaugh. First play, Cavanaugh turns a drive into a disaster. As the veteran Rick Dennison picks it off, Buddy not pleased. Elway finally gets the offense moving after the big play by Dennison. Elway drops back, hits Orson Moms Mobley for a first down. Then Elway does the rest with his feet.
Well, I thought he did a great job here of spotting where Reggie White was and running away from him. Smart move.
Where he wasn't. 14-7 now at the half. And they did a pretty good job on Reggie White. As the Eagles, they tried to do a good job on Reggie White, but they couldn't quite contain him there. Cunningham to the veteran Jimmy Giles. And Denver couldn't tackle, and guess what he could do, Tom?
He could go all the way.
He does go all the way. 66 yards, 21-7, Philadelphia. Elway now trying to rally the Broncos. Throws to Vance Johnson. And look at this play in the end zone. Beautiful extension. The touchdown, 21-14. Game just heating up. Denver pulls it within 4 with a field goal, 21-17. And then Elway goes to Johnson. Got it. Sets up a Melvin Bratton touchdown for the first time all afternoon. Denver leads at 24-21. Big play, though. John Telchik punts. The ball hits Darren Carrington. William Frizzell recovers for Philly. Cannot advance a muff, but you do get the ball. And it sets up a 1-yard plunge by Byers. 28-24, Philadelphia back in front. Broncos' last gasp. Elway has moved the ball into Philadelphia territory. Under a minute to go. He throws at the end zone for Steve Sewell. Had it in his hands and dropped it. One last try for Denver. Elway runs for a first down, but fumble. Philly recovers, and the Eagles with a major, major win at Mile High Stadium, where the Broncos had not yet lost until today. Philadelphia beats them by the count of 28-24. Who's best at home? Who's best on the road? I think the road, you might have a good guess. At home, though, Denver falls from the ranks of the unbeaten. It's Minnesota and the Giants, who oddly enough face off Monday night at the Meadowlands with the best home records. And on the road, oh, those Niners. Oh, in the loss column in 6 tries. We'll be back. Are they the best team ever? Terry Bradshaw thinks so, but so do the 72 Dolphins of Greasy and Coach Don Shula. Everybody's on hand for the Dream Bowl. The blimps are over the stadium, and who's going to toss the coin? We're ready to rock and roll. The Dolphins and the Steelers on Dream Bowl at 8:15 Eastern Time. You do not want to miss it. Washington Redskins and the Los Angeles Raiders. Big trade a year ago to start the season. Jay Schrader becomes a Raider. And so today the Redskins went out to see if Jay would play. But no, Art Shell opted for Steve Berline instead. Schrader benched as he wished his replacement, Steve Berline, good luck. The Shell game was to have Berline in there to try and spark the offense, which had gone 2 of 3 of Shell's first games, scoreless in the first half. And Berline early to swerving Mervin Fernandez 18 yards. And again, Berline did the swerving one. Touchdown, 14-0 early against Joe Gibbs. But back come the Skins. And it didn't even result in the offense making the move. The kickoff to Joe Howard at the 1. He makes his move, and he could go all the way. 99 yards. Longest in Skins history. First kickoff return for a touchdown since 78. It's 14-7. From there, though, Howie Long and the defense took over. They had 7 sacks on the afternoon and many tackles behind the line of scrimmage like this one on Jamie Morris. Then, Long sacks Mark Rippon. The only way Rippon could do it was under pressure. The ball tipped at the line by Mike Wise, but Donnie Warren comes up with the deflection. Next play, the Skins looking for the tie. Ernest Finer making moves down to the 13, but fumble. L.A. picks up the football as the Redskins continue to turn the ball over. This time, Jerry Robinson with the pick. Now watch the hit by Jim Lachey. Robinson dazed, but the Skins with 8 turnovers on the day. One guy who was never dazed, Bo knows touchdowns. Bo Jackson. First 100-yard day in 2 years. 73-yard run. Nobody's going to catch him. 144 yards for Bo. Raiders lead it 24-10. Yeah, we know. Bo knows football. It got worse for Rippon and company. Only one time in Redskins history before today had they suffered 8 turnovers. It was in the 1940 NFL Championship game against the Bears. Bears beat them that day 73-0. That was an Eddie Anderson interception. Eddie Anderson again with an interception. And this time, he'll rumble, stumble, 45 yards into the end zone. 37-10. The Raiders in a romp. The Skins score a couple of late touchdowns, but it doesn't matter. 37-24. The silver and black is only 2 back. Lions and the Packers at Milwaukee, and the Pete's son Rodney, Father Willie, meet before the game.
We're going to meet at home plate, guy. We're going to meet at home plate. How you doing? Good.
Willie Pete, assistant coach under Lindy and Fonnie. Rodney Pete, quarterback of the Lions today. What a nice, nice affair for father and son. And Rodney made Dad's job a little more difficult when he found Richard Johnson down the sidelines for 39 yards. Then Richard Johnson for a touchdown of 6 yards, 7-0 Detroit. But the real star today, Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, 123 yards in the first half. He breaks tackles. He makes nice cuts like a little fire hydrant, getting down the field.
Well, every fire hydrant I've ever seen has made nice cuts, and Sanders goes 7 yards into the end zone, but illegal block by Keith McDonald, and Wayne Fonts really enjoyed this call. Fonts, remember he got his job because he beat the Packers twice last year? Cincinnati Murray, who even after 19 straight field goals finally proves he's human, hits the upright, bounds away. We are 10-10 at the half, but the penalty was really a 14-point swing. Don Mikowski, his usual brilliant self. Here he hits Sterling Sharp, 14 yards. And then the Mikowski to Sharp connection again. 27 yards, down to the Detroit 5. And then the same two, Magic Man to Sharp, 5 yards, 20-10 Pack after 3. Mikowski, 367 yards as the Pack continues to come back. But this one went off Sharp's helmet and into the hands of Jerry Holmes. And with the score 20-13, the Lions were in business. A penalty put them back, but Rodney knows what to do when everyone's covered, Tom.
And he doesn't only run when he's in trouble. When he sees an opening, he goes for it, and he knows he can reach it and dives into the end zone for the touchdown.
We are tied at 20. Minute 37 to go. Look at Barry Sanders run 30 yards before he's finally brought down to the Packer 40. He finishes with 184 yards on 30 carries. But the Lions wouldn't score because they fumble, and Tim Harris recovers for Green Bay. We go to overtime. First play from scrimmage in overtime after the kickoff is handled by Detroit. Intercepted by Mark Murphy on the pass intended for former Packer Walter Stanley. 4 plays later, Chris Jackie jacks a 39-yard field goal. His third of the game, it's good. And the Pack, they don't do it in the fourth quarter. They do it in overtime this time. Green Bay winning late again, winning over Detroit in Milwaukee by the count of 23-20. 100-yard rushers, you know Barry Sanders was one. 300-yard passers, you know Mikowski was one. Let's total them all up when we return. Late highlights, including the Gotham Green, the Jets. You stick them on the road, John, and I mean, why even worry, right?
Including the game at Stanford, which was a road game of sorts. They had yet to lose away from Candlestick Park. Now, the New York Jets, on the other hand, 1-6, and everyone calling for Joe Walton's head in New York. So, trying to come away with a big win. They wouldn't have to put up with this man, Joe Montana. Stop, look, listen, here's how you do it, Steve Young. He goes, and over top of the linebackers, he looks for Roger Craig, and there he is. 41 yards in the pickup. Craig, 6 receptions for 85 yards, 17 carries, 78 yards. He totaled 163. Then Young finishes things off, 2nd and goal. Brent Jones is open in the end zone. Young finds him, 7-0 49ers. On the next possession, though, things get a little scary for the 49ers. Young fumbles the snap, picks it up, tries to run with it, gets wrestled down and washed the knee. He is out at least at that point. Bring in Steve Bono. Steve Bono singing, yes, I do have you, babe. He completes to Craig, but Craig gets hit by Kerry Glenn and fumbles the ball. Eric McMillan picks it up, and for the 2nd time this year, a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and the Jets are on the board. But Bono's 2nd series, 2nd and 1, he unloads to Jerry Rice, and he does have you, babe. 45-yard touchdown pass. Rice with 5 catches, 95 yards. Take a look at this, Tom.
Well, they say Jerry Rice is not fast, just fast enough to get by people, and always has the great hands, great leaping ability.
Joe Walton standing by. He says, I'll start the second half with an onside kick. And it works. Kerry Glenn recovers it for the Jets. They get down to the 8. 2nd and 2. Roger Vick goes nowhere. Kugler's there to get him. Then 3rd and 2. O'Brien, plenty of time, but he just overthrows everyone. The Jets get only 3, and it's 20-10, and that's what the Jets fans are saying about their team. 49er defense after O'Brien all day, 9 sacks overall. The Jets lose 23-10, and they're wearing bags on their heads. The Jets 0-4 at home. Their offense has not scored a touchdown in the last 13 quarters. San Diego and Seattle. Jim McMahon on the sideline, not injured. Dan Henning just says, I'm going to go with Billy Joe Tolliver, the rookie from Texas Tech. Not an easy day for the rookie, though, Tom.
Well, he had pressure that time from Rufus Porter. He fumbles the ball. Here comes Rufus Porter again from the backside. Shows great speed, causes the pass incompletion, and then Jacob Green getting after him. A tough day all around for Tolliver.
The Seahawks' David Craig had trouble as well, though. Not a good day for quarterback.
Well, sacked by Burt Grossman. Gets the drop by Steve Largent. And then throws here and almost gets the interception.
The only points through the first 58 minutes of play. Norm Johnson, 27-yard field goal in the first quarter. Seattle led at 3-0. Fourth quarter, still 3-zip. Jim McMahon enters the game, and he hits Anthony Miller for 22 yards. The drive continues. Marion Butts pulls his way for a top 11 yards. Finally, on 3rd and goal, Seattle at the 14-yard line. McMahon to Arthur Cox, 14 yards for the touchdown, and the Chargers are up 7-3. Could Dave Craig bring the Seahawks back? Craig sacked at the 15-yard line. And Craig to John L. Williams to try and get things going. Down the sidelines, he picks up a gainer. Craig then to Paul Scanzi. The clock continuing to run. You see it's down to under a minute and a half. Craig the big play to Lewis Clark. Clark cuts it back towards the middle to pick up a big gainer. Then a minute to play to Largent. And Largent has the catch and out of bounds. 1st and 10 at the San Diego 21. Almost a touchdown, out of bounds to Lewis Clark. Then on 2nd and 10, Craig long and incomplete. A collision there in the end zone. 3rd and 10, Craig to Brian Blaze. One last try, and this time it's for the touchdown, and the Seahawks win it. 10-7 was the final of the game. Seattle has beaten San Diego 10 of their last 11 meetings, and they finally get a victory at home. They were 0-3. The Chiefs and the Steelers. Marty Schottenheimer had beaten the Steelers 7 straight times, but Bubby was back. 3-0 Steelers early. Bubby to Lewis Lips. Completes this one down to the 24-yard line. And Bubby to Lewis Lips again. This time for the touchdown. Nice move there to cut it back. Grabbed by the face mask, still gets in. 10-0. It was 16-3, but the Nigerian Nightmare would fight back. Koya runs around the right side. 1st down and then some. Mike Webster in his debut against Pittsburgh. This snap is not a great one. Steve DeBerg barely gets a hand on it, and the Chiefs are forced to punt. The momentum is Pittsburgh's, though. Bubby Bristol will hand off to Merrill Hodge. The reverse to Dwight Stone. Fumble. Bill Moss falls on it after it bounces around. Touchdown, Kansas City. Now, he gets a touchdown, but he doesn't know how to celebrate.
Bill Moss, as a defensive lineman, has not spiked the ball very often. Hey! All the way off the field.
Didn't look like a spike unless you're trying to spike into the first row. Final seconds, Bubby again to Lips, 64 yards on the touchdown as Albert Lewis went for the ball and did not get it. Steelers take the lead back 23-17. Lewis Lips, 7 catches. You see Bobby Brister's numbers, 17 for 27, 255. Chiefs last chance. 1st and goal, Okoye, nope. That's how he's supposed to do it, but watch this one.
I'd like to see him try that again. When you weigh between 255 and 260, don't jump. Run it through.
3rd and goal, DeBerg can't hear, so he backs off. It's too much noise, he says, but the officials say no, you should have played, delay a game. Marty Schottenheimer is livid. Now a passing situation. DeBerg is intercepted by Rod Woodson, and the Steelers win it 23-17 is the final. The Steelers, who started so horribly, are now 4-4. They're 2nd in the AFC Central. The Chiefs are 3-5. Lewis Lips with receptions now in 33 consecutive games. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they started horribly, didn't look very good last week against Houston, but they're only a game back.
I think coaching Cleveland had something to do with Marty's winning streak against the Steelers rather than the Chiefs?
KC.
Might have had something to do with it. All right, Week 8 now complete except for the Monday night game between the Vikings and the Giants at the Meadowlands. And if the Giants lose that game, they fall back into a first-place tie with the Eagles. Very good race atop the NFC East. In the NFC Central, if Minnesota loses, the Bears would go back into first place. Remember, this week is the first week they've been out of it since 1983. Bears play the Pack next week. Out west, Saints have a Monday nighter at San Francisco. So if they want to climb back, they're playing the team that they want to. In the AFC East, the results of today have given the Bills a 2-game lead over both the Colts and the Dolphins. The Patriots keeping their flickering hopes alive. In the Central, it's everybody's race, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. All the teams within 1 game. And out west, the Broncos' loss means their lead is only 2 over the Raiders in Seattle. Although Denver was handing out options for playoff credentials in the press box. Was it a little early? We'll see. Axe's Edge next.